Hello everybody, Preacher Bill here today. So if you've been watching my channel at all, especially lately, those of you who are my subscribers and people that may have come across my channel and viewed the latest videos I've done, you're going to see that I've done a lot of videos recently about places that I used to work at, some people I used to work with, former employers, and supervisors that I've had in the past. There is a reason why I've done these videos, and the simple reason is for my own personal resolution of those past situations, and it's also, at least in part, for myself, some validation concerning those things. All of those things being said, what I want to do today is I want to talk about one particular place that I worked at, which I've done several videos on. And the name of the company was called Tri-Quetra Health, which is presently located in Springdale, Ohio. And as I've said in the other videos, I worked for this company in the past, going on almost 2 years ago is when I worked for them. The period of time that I did work for them was from December of 2022 until November of 2024. As I've said in the other videos, almost the whole time of that 2 years, I worked at the same facility, which was a small warehouse that the company was utilizing at the time. Over the 2 years that I worked there, the company grew exponentially. Their customer base grew very much. Their orders and demand went up very much. And during the 2 years I worked for them, they hired a couple, three more people because of the demand of the sales, because the business was doing that well. Things were that way, and as I've said in other videos, the working environment, the situation was good all the way up until the very end. Approximately September of 2024, they brought in a new warehouse manager whose name was Matthew. And after he showed up, as I've said in the other videos, things changed a lot. And I'm just going to tell you straight away, this man, Matthew, was not a good boss to work for. He was not a very personable guy. I don't think he was a very nice person. I will contend that he was at least a little bit arrogant. And when he would come to work every day, he just didn't seem like he was a person to be what you would call a team player. You know, he was the boss that they brought in at the end. And I personally don't think that he utilized his authority correctly. And the reason I say that is because during the whole 2 years I worked there, up until this guy Matthew showed up, I had a different supervisor whose name was Kyle, who did an excellent job. He was a lot younger than me, but I enjoyed working for him. And he was basically the warehouse foreman. And he did an excellent job. If he still worked for them and he was still the warehouse manager today, I would work for him again. You know, I have a good job now. I've been at my employment for a couple years almost. And so I have a good job now, and I have a good boss now at the place I work at now. And I have a good team of people that I work with at my current job. And it's a very positive environment. It's a very positive work situation. But if I was not working at my present employment and my former past supervisor, Kyle, who was also a friend of mine, if he was still working for Tri-Quetra and he was still the warehouse manager, I'd work for him again. I'd still be working for him. But as I said, things changed at the end of my tenure with that company. And the main reason that I left was because of this new manager they brought in by the name of Matthew. I don't hate the guy as a person, but I definitely don't think that he should have ever been the manager. I don't think he should have ever been in charge. I just don't think that that was something he was cut out for. So after he showed up, like I said before, things changed, and the work environment wasn't positive. It was very stressful after he was there. And I just don't think, at least from my own experience there, I don't think he promoted a positive work environment. Now, I will tell you this, when it comes to jobs and employers and supervisors, when you're working for somebody, you should do your job, and you should do a good job, no matter who you're working for. And, if you are fortunate enough to have a good supervisor who's good to you as an employee, that's a wonderful thing, but nobody should ever mistake a supervisor's kindness for weakness. So, you can be a supervisor, you can be someone who holds authority over people, but you can also exemplify the right type of environment with that authority, and you can use it correctly. And that comes with discernment and wisdom and a little bit of age. So that wasn't the case at the end of my tenure with Tri-Quetra. The place where they did their business for 2 years, which was over in Liberty Township, as things worked out, ultimately, I don't think I'd be working for them anyway, because when they moved to this different facility in Springdale, everything changed. They went to this whole brand new computer system and inventory control and a bunch of other things that they implemented at the new warehouse when they moved into it a couple years ago, because now that's been a couple years ago, and I haven't worked for them for a couple years because my present employer, I've been there for going on 2 years. So I haven't worked for Tri-Quetra for a long time. But when they moved into the new facility in Springdale, they changed a lot of things. They went to this new computer system, which also employed this new inventory control. It was all kind of sewed together, so to speak. So, I get why they did this. I understand why they moved. As I said in the other videos, they outgrew the warehouse they were in. Even when I was there, the business was doing so well, the demand was going up so fast, and the customer base was expanding so fast that they grew out of the warehouse they were in. They simply ran out of room. So, in retrospect, they wouldn't be there anyway. Even if I was still working for them, they still wouldn't be at the original warehouse where they were when I first started working for them. So as things went on, again, this is one of those things where it's kind of a timeline type of video. As things went forward, when they moved into the new facility, I was there for maybe about a month, and I didn't like it. And this is a sticking point with men, especially when it comes to jobs. If you don't respect the man you work for, you as a man are not going to be able to continue to work for that man. That might sound silly to some people, but this is something that is very important to men. And as a man, if you don't respect the person who is your boss, you're going to have a hard time working for that person because it's a respect issue. So if you don't respect the guy who is your supervisor, you're not going to stay working there, and you're not going to stay working for that person. And this is especially something that is a sticking point with men and jobs. So as all of this cycled through and things ran their course, ultimately, I wouldn't be working there anyway. Now, as things went on in the timeline, I come to find out about a year ago now that the guy that I worked for a couple months, probably about a couple months, I found out about a year ago that he ended up getting fired. And I remember one particular day at work where this man, Matthew, who was the warehouse manager at the time, and this is while we were still at the old building, I remember one day he got all over me and got mouthy with me because he thought that I had screwed up and messed up an order. What actually happened was he had gotten an order from this commercial customer, and it had to be done a certain way and this much product, and it had to be skidded and wrapped and labeled and packed a certain way. So he got this order from this commercial customer, which was a pharmaceutical company. Well, all he told me to do was pull this much product and box it up and pack it. That's all he told me to do, which is exactly what I did. And he did not say anything to me about routing numbers or skid numbers or different things that are on paperwork when it comes to factory packed orders that you would put on skids and things like this. The paperwork and the logistics of it, he didn't say anything to me about that part of it. He just said, I need this much product packed up, wrapped, and skidded, which is what I did. Well, we ended up having to redo it, and it was his fault. But he got all over me and got mouthy with me and tried to make it out like I had made the mistake. Well, I did what he said, and he was the one that made the mistake because he wasn't clear about skid numbers, order numbers, product numbers, different things having to do with logistics that are specifics that commercial customers want when it comes to packing, wrapping, shipping, and certain numbers and things like that, pallet numbers and so forth. Well, he didn't tell me any of that. Well, so he got mouthy with me one day and got all over me about it. And I took a walk outside because he tried to make it like it was my fault. And it was not my fault. And I took a walk outside. I took a walk in the parking lot for about 10, 15 minutes because if I didn't do that, something not good was going to happen. And so I was pretty hot. I was pretty angry about it because he tried to take what he messed up and put it on me. Well, after a few minutes, I came back into the warehouse, and the long and short of it is I told him, I said, let me tell you something, Matthew. I'm going to tell you something one man to another. I don't care if you're a supervisor or you're a boss or whatever you are. I'm going to tell you something from one man to another. You better learn how to treat people. And you better learn how to treat people that work for you. And you better learn how to execute this authority that you've been given as a supervisor. You better learn how to execute that correctly. And part of the backdrop of this whole situation was it was his brother that actually owns the company and still owns it. His brother's name is Sean, and his brother started this company, I want to say about 10 years ago, from what I understand. So it's actually his brother that owns the company, and one of the people that I work for, which was involved in the logistics of things, the administrative things, her name is Leanne, who she still works for them. but it's her son's company, and Matthew was her other son, who they just made a warehouse manager just off the hip, and just brought him in and gave him this warehouse and said, run it. Well, from what I could see, he had no experience in doing this. He did not have experience in being a supervisor. He did not have experience in dealing with people. He did not have experience in running a warehouse. Now, I will tell you this. When you work for somebody, you should not abuse any graces that you get from your employer. If you have a good employer and they treat you well, that should be respected. You should never abuse that. That being said, though, this guy Matthew, as far as I can see from then, he had no people skills at all. And basically, he was just given this warehouse and keys to the door and said, go run it. And he didn't know how to do that. I will say this. The guy's not stupid. From what I understand, he has college education. He also has technical training in carpentry and masonry. So he's got formal education and he's got trade skill education. So the guy's not stupid, okay? But when it comes to dealing with people and running a business and being a supervisor, that's where he falls short. And he had no valid experience in those areas, and he proved it by how he acted at the job. Well, as I said a few minutes ago, about a year ago, I come to find out he got fired about a year after I left. So it's kind of ironic that, the one day that he tried to go off on me and blame me for something that really was his fault. And I told him straight away, man to man, I said, listen, I'm talking to you as one man from another. Titles are out of it. Whether you're my boss or not, whether I'm a worker bee or not, remove the titles. I'm telling you something from one man to another. And I said, you better learn how to treat people and you better stop acting the fool. Well, it's ironic that, about a year later, he ended up getting fired. Now, I don't know if his brother fired him or if his mother fired him or if it was a collective effort and different circumstances that, he got fired and resigned and it kind of happened at the same time. There's certain details about that I don't know about. But this much I do know. A year after I told him to stop acting the way he was, a year after that, he got fired. And like I said, the guy that owns his company is his brother. So, in the course of it all, after it's all run its course, here we are, August 17th of 2026. As I said before, my present employer is good to me. My direct supervisors are good to me. When I go to work, I do my job. I do what's expected of me. I've been there going on a couple years, and I do get graces at work, but I do what I'm told, and I do a good job for those people, and I work hard for them. And I can tell they appreciate it because they show that, and they compliment me at work. And my boss that I have now, who's about 20 years younger than me, I'm actually old enough to be his dad. It's kind of ironic, but he's a good supervisor, but I don't take advantage of his kindness, and I don't mistake his kindness for weakness. When I go to work, I know what he expects of me, and I do that. I do what he expects of me, and I do a good job, and I give him 120%. So the people I work for now, which I've been at this job for going on a couple of years, it's actually Camargo Country Club in Cincinnati. And they're good to me, but I don't take advantage of them. And so, as all of this has run its course, I've worked for my present employer for going on a couple of years, and it's ironic because it's been almost 2 years ago that I stopped working for Tri-Quetra, and it's been about a year ago that I had that talk with Matthew, and I said, you better change your ways or something not good is going to happen. And, I don't think it's a coincidence that he got fired. And again, it's his brother that owns this company. So if you're working for your family, especially if it's your brother's company, and your mother is the sales director, and you get fired, something's wrong. So, I don't know if things would have been any different, or the whole situation would have turned out different if I had ended up staying working there. Even if I was still working for them, they've been in the new facility for a couple of years now. And like I said, they changed a lot of things, and they brought in computers and inventory control, and which I understand why they did that. I get it, as a business efficiency type of thing, that's a smart thing to do. So I get that. But even if I was still working for them and I had gone through all the changes and the move to a new, bigger warehouse and everything, I don't know if I'd end up staying there or not. Chances are I don't think I would have. I probably would have ended up finding something else anyway. But, as I said in the beginning of this video, this is really more about personal resolution for me and validation. And, like I said, the fact that the guy got fired a year after I told him to change his ways, and he would not change his ways. He kept acting the fool. He kept running over people, not treating people well, abusing his authority. I don't think it's a coincidence that he got fired. And I'm going to say it again. If you're working for your family and your brother owns the company and your mother is one of the sales reps and you get fired and get told to leave, and if you won't leave, you're going to get fired. So basically you're given the choice of, look, you either need to resign and leave, or we're going to fire you and we're going to make you leave. If that's the choice you're presented with, whether you get fired or you have a forced resignation, it's still the same result. It's still the same result. So I'll say here at the end, I'm going to make this video public. And Matthew, if you ever see this, maybe you should think about things. Maybe you should consider some things and how you were in the past to me and to other people. I want you to know I do not hate you as a person, but how you were to me and some of the other people there, and my own experience with you, you need to change your ways. You need to change some things. So if you ever see this video, maybe it'll convict you a little bit. Maybe it'll make you think a little bit. And as you go on with your life in the future, maybe you'll be different. I turned 61 this month. So, Matthew, when you get to be my age, I'll be gone. I'll be deceased by then, because if I understand rightly, you're in your late 20s, early 30s. I don't know exactly when your birthday is, but when you get to be my age, I'll be deceased. I'll be long gone and out of here. I'll be home to be with the Lord. So you're going to have some time to think about this. So if you ever see this video, I'm going to convict you a little bit and tell you, you better change your ways before you get to be my age. So that's all I have to say about this video today. And I thought about doing this for a couple, 3 days before I decided to make this video tonight. And this is how I feel about it.